The sun hadn't yet cracked the horizon when Ethan Caldwell's boots crunched across the brittle soil of Willow Creek Farm. His breath hung in the chilly dawn, a faint cloud against the endless stretch of failing cornfields. At 42, Ethan's face was a map of hard years, lines etched deep from squinting into the sun and worrying over debts that grew like weeds. His calloused hands gripped the steering wheel of his ancient tractor, the engine coughing to life with a reluctant groan. This was his land, his father's land, his great-grandfather's land, and every furrow felt like a piece of his soul. But the drought, 3 merciless years of it, had turned his dreams to dust. He was losing, and the weight of it sat heavy in his chest, a quiet ache that never left. He was halfway through a row, the tractor's rumble a familiar hymn, when a scream shattered the morning stillness. It wasn't the cry of a hawk or the yelp of a coyote. It was human, raw, wenchhanitoten, and desperate. Ethan's heart lurched, his foot slamming the brake. He scanned the horizon, eyes locking on the jagged cliffs that bordered his property. The scream came again, fainter but no less urgent. Without a second thought, he killed the engine and sprinted toward the sound, his pulse hammering in his ears. The cliffs were treacherous, their edges crumbling under careless steps. But Ethan knew every inch of this land like the back of his hand. At the precipice, he skidded to a stop, dirt scattering over the edge. Below, clinging to a rocky outcrop, was a woman. Her dark hair was tangled, her face pale with terror, but her eyes, sharp and green, locked onto his with a fierce will to survive. She was dressed in riding gear, expensive but mud-streaked, her fingers bloodied from gripping the stone. "Help me," she gasped, her voice trembling but steady enough to carry. Ethan's mind raced. There was no time for questions, no time to wonder who she was or how she'd ended up here. He spotted an old coil of rope in the bed of his nearby truck, its fibers worn but strong. "Hold on," he shouted, already knotting one end around a sturdy cedar trunk. His hands moved with the calm precision of a man who'd faced crises before. Not cliffs, but foreclosures, droughts, and the slow death of hope. He tossed the rope down, the coil unraveling like a lifeline. "Grab it! I've got you." Her fingers closed around the rope, and Ethan braced himself, his boots digging into the earth. She was lighter than he'd expected, but the strain in his shoulders burned as he pulled, inch by agonizing inch. Her gasps turned to sobs of relief as she scrambled over the edge, collapsing onto the grass. For a moment, they just stared at each other, breathing hard, the adrenaline still coursing through them. Up close, she was striking, high cheekbones, a face that could have graced a magazine, but it was the raw gratitude in her eyes that hit Ethan like a punch. "I'm fine, sorry, thank you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I thought, you're okay now," Ethan said, his tone gruff but kind. He stood, offering her a hand, and she took it, her grip surprisingly strong. Before he could ask her name, the roar of engines cut through the air. A convoy of black SUVs screeched to a halt, kicking up dust. Men in suits poured out, their faces a mix of relief and agitation. Antony Awarninison, clearly in charge, rushed forward, a wad of cash already in his hand. "Name your price," he said, his tone clipped. "You saved Miss'm Harper's life. It can sup." Ethan's gaze flicked to the woman, Mrs. Harper, who was brushing dirt from her jacket, her composure returning like a mask slipping into place. He shook his head, tipping his worn baseball cap. "Don't need your money," he said simply, "just doing what's right." The man blinked, unaccustomed to refusal, but Ethan was already turning back to his tractor. He felt their eyes on him as he walked away, the woman's most of all, but he didn't look back. There was work to do, and the bank wasn't going to wait. He had no idea that the woman he'd just saved was Olivia Harper, America's most elusive billionaire, the mastermind behind Greenwave Industries, a corporate giant with its sights set on farms like his. Nor could he know that his simple act of kindness had sparked something in her, a flicker of doubt about the empire she'd built, and a longing for something money couldn't buy. Dawn painted Willow Creek Farm in hues of amber, but to Ethan, it only highlighted the withered stalks and cracked earth. He sat at his kitchen table, a chipped mug of coffee cooling in his hands. The deed to the farm hung on the wall, its faded script a testament to the Caldwell legacy. Property granted to Amos Caldwell. Anno Domini 1928. Ethan traced the words with his eyes, feeling the weight of 4 generations pressing down on him. His daughter, Lesorni, was away at college, her future tethered to this land's survival. If he failed, he'd be the one to break the chain. "You're up early," said Clara, his housekeeper of 25 years, as she set a plate of bacon and eggs before him. Her gray hair was pulled into a tight bun, her eyes sharp with the wisdom of someone who'd watched Ethan grow from a boy. "Heard about that woman you saved yesterday? Whole town's talking." Ethan grunted, his mind on the stack of bills in his office. Just did what anyone would. But Clara's smile said she knew better. "Your daddy would have done the same," she said. Caldwell grit. Mr. Warren. He managed a half-smile. But the mention of his father, Jacob, stung. Jacob had died 5 years ago, his heart giving out just as the drought began to tighten its grip. Ethan had promised to keep the farm alive, but the numbers told a different story. Mounting loans, declining yields, and a bank manager, Sam Wheeler, who'd been patient but was running out of time. "Sam's coming by today," Ethan said, pushing his plate away. "Says it's urgent." Clara's face softened, reading the worry in his eyes. "Sure, mate. Wanting to be my own ones. Sam's known you since you were in diapers. He'll do what he can." "Even Sam's got bosses," Ethan replied. Standing, he headed to his office, where the morning paper lay unopened. Another headline about failing family farms would only twist the knife. Instead, he pulled out his ledger, the red ink a stark reminder of his reality. A knock at the door interrupted his grim calculations. Clara appeared at 10:01. "This one?" "Sure." Her expression tight. "Sam's here early. Says it's important." Ethan's stomach sank. Bank managers didn't make house calls for good news. He straightened his flannel shirt and stepped onto the porch, where Sam waited, his usual grin replaced by a somber frown. "Ethan, Sesterine," Sam said, shaking his hand. "Wish I was here for coffee." They sat in the porch chairs, the same ones where their fathers had once debated crop prices and weather. Sam pulled out a folder, and Ethan braced himself. "Corporates tightening the screws," Sam said, his voice heavy. "They're calling in loans across the county. You've got 90 days to settle up." Or he didn't finish, but Ethan knew. Foreclosure. The word hung between them like a death sentence. 90 days, Ethan repeated, his voice steady despite the churn in his gut. "That's not much time. You've got more equity than most," Sam offered. "Could sell now." Ethan, get a decent price before they force it. Ethan's jaw tightened. "This land's not for sale." "Nasishin." "Sam never has been," Sam sighed, standing. "Times change." "Ethan, what sana marnin?" "Your daddy knew that. He was talking to developers before he passed." "Didn't he tell you?" The revelation hit Ethan like a physical blow. His father, the man who'd taught him that land was sacred, had considered selling. The thought reopened old wounds, stirring a mix of betrayal and confusion. Clara appeared with coffee, her timing impeccable, giving Ethan a moment to swallow the hurt. "I'll do what I can to buy you time," Sam promised as he left. But his words felt hollow against the dust rising from his departing car. Ethan stood alone, the morning sun burning away the last traces of dew. 90 days to save his legacy. 90 days to prove he could make this land sing again. He didn't know that the woman he'd saved was watching from afar, her own world shifting because of him. In her Manhattan penthouse, Olivia Harper stared at a glossy magazine cover on her desk. The Shadow Billionaire. Olivia Harper's first interview. Her face, polished and composed, stared back. But the woman in the photo felt like a stranger. At 38, Olivia had built Greenwave Industries into an agricultural empire. Her name synonymous with ruthless efficiency. Yet the memory of hanging from that cliff, her life in the hands of a stranger, had cracked something in her. She touched her shoulder, still sore from the ordeal, and felt a pang of something unfamiliar, vulnerability. Mrs. Harper her PR director, Marcus, said from the doorway, tablet in hand. "The board's asking about yesterday's incident." "Tell them I'm fine," Olivia said, her voice crisp. "A writing accident. Nothing more. They're more interested in the man who saved you." Marcus pressed. "The media's digging for his identity." Olivia thought of Ethan Caldwell's weathered face, the quiet dignity in his refusal of her reward. He hadn't recognized her, hadn't calculated her worth, just acted. It was so different from the world she navigated, where every gesture hid an agenda. He doesn't want publicity, she said firmly. Let's keep it that way. Marcus hesitated. With the Greenwave acquisition moving forward, anything involving you is news. The acquisition. Olivia turned to her window, 40 stories above the city. Somewhere on her desk was a report listing Willow Creek Farm as a distressed asset. Its owner too stubborn to modernize. She hadn't known that yesterday. When Ethan's rope had settled around her waist, his voice steady as he pulled her to safety. Get me everything on Ethan Caldwell, she told Marcus as he turned to leave. The farmer, is that wise? Marcus raised an eyebrow. The board won't like personal involvement in target acquisitions. The board wasn't hanging off a cliff. Olivia snapped. I want to know who he is. An hour later, the file arrived. Ethan Caldwell, fourth-generation farmer, widowed, one daughter in college, no criminal record, solid credit until the drought. His farm was a prime target for Greenwave's expansion. But as Olivia read, she felt a stirring of doubt. The board expected her to steamroll communities like Willow Creek. But the memory of Ethan's hands, steady, selfless, made her question what she was really building. Ethan's days blurred into a rhythm of survival. Sunrise coffee, a nearly the hurricane runs, equipment checks, and endless hours in fields that refused to yield. The bank's deadline loomed. Each day a tick of the clock. Clara kept the house running. Her quiet presence a comfort. But even she couldn't ease the dread that settled in Ethan's bones. One evening, as he pored over loan documents, a strange letter arrived from the county agricultural department. It offered free consultations on drought-resistant crops, funded by an anonymous grant. Ethan's first instinct was suspicion. Nothing came free in his world, but the consultant's advice was solid, and the new seeds they provided showed promise. Then came the bank's next letter, announcing a loan restructuring through a mysterious investment group. His 90-day deadline stretched to a year, with terms almost too good to believe. Someone's looking out for you, Sam said over the phone, his tone hinting at more than he'd say. Ethan didn't trust it, but he couldn't deny the results. Soil sensors blinking green, Lily's college bills eased by a sudden scholarship, and whispers of a new county farming initiative. It felt like a lifeline. But from whom? He began to notice a sleek black car cruising the back roads near his farm. It appeared at odd hours, slowing near his fields before speeding off. One evening, as he worked late, the car paused, and he caught a glimpse of the driver. A woman with dark hair, her face half hidden. His gut told him it was her, the woman from the cliff. But why? The thought both unsettled and intrigued him, stirring a warmth he hadn't felt since his wife's passing. Olivia couldn't stay away. She told herself she was scouting properties, but her drives through Willow Creek were pilgrimages to a place that felt more real than her boardroom. The drought's toll was everywhere. Stunted crops, dusty roads, worried faces in the local diner, but so was resilience. She saw it in Ethan, his every movement deliberate, as if coaxing life from the earth through sheer will. Her tablet buzzed with messages from Marcus, the board growing restless about her stalled acquisition plans, but she ignored them. Instead, she poured her resources into Willow Creek, funneling money through shell companies to fund grants, consultants, and irrigation systems. It was reckless, personal, everything her corporate self had been trained to avoid. But it felt right. One evening, she parked at the edge of Ethan's property, watching him work under the setting sun. His fields glowed golden, and for a moment, she saw what he was fighting for. Not just land, but a legacy. Her phone rang, Marcus's voice urgent. The board's demanding answers. What's the plan for Willow Creek? Olivia's eyes stayed on Ethan. The plan's changing, she said. We're saving these farms. All of them. The storm came without warning. A beast of thunder and hail that threatened to drown Willow Creek. Ethan's emergency radio crackled with warnings of flash flooding, and he knew his south field was in the path. As he rallied neighbors at the community center, the black car appeared again, and Olivia leapt out, drenched but determined. Your irrigation channels can divert the runoff, she said, showing him topographical maps on her tablet. I've got engineers on standby. Ethan stared, torn between gratitude and disbelief. You should be in New York, not out here in a storm. This matters more. Watch on the church she said, and the fire in her eyes matched his own. They worked through the night, Ethan on his tractor, Olivia coordinating with her team, neighbors piling sandbags alongside high school kids. The community moved like a single organism, each person fueled by the systems Olivia had quietly built. By dawn, the floodwaters flowed safely through the channels, the valley battered but intact. Ethan found Olivia at the field's edge, mud-caked and exhausted. "You saved more than crops tonight," he said, his voice low. "This valley would have been gone without you." "We saved it," she corrected, meeting his gaze. "Together, so many went were." The moment lingered, charged with unspoken truths, until Clara's voice broke the spell, calling them to the house. But as they walked back, Ethan felt something shift. The woman he'd saved wasn't just a stranger anymore. She was part of this place. Part of him. The media storm hit the next day, a vicious headline screaming across networks. Greenwave CEO's secret rural affair. Corporate funds misused for farmers' heart. Grainy photos of Olivia's car near Ethan's farm. Their moments at the market, even their work in the storm, were twisted into a scandal. Ethan's phone buzzed with Clara's urgent call. "Reporters are at the farm. Ethan, and someone showed you the Greenwave acquisition plans, the real ones." He sat in Sam's office. The contract before him a betrayal, signed by Olivia 6 months ago. It outlined a plan to stabilize farms like his, then buy them at a premium. His trust, so carefully built, shattered. "It was all a lie," he said, his voice hollow as he prepared to sign his farm over to Greenwave's rival. Olivia burst in, breathless. "Don't sign it," she pleaded. Ethan didn't look up, the hurt too raw. "You played me," he said. "This was just business. It was," she admitted, stepping closer. "But then I met you. You showed me what matters: trust, community, a life worth living." She pulled out her phone, showing her resignation letter and a news alert. She donated her Willow Creek investments to a community trust, giving locals control. "This is who I am now," she said. "No more lies." Ethan read the letter, his anger warring with the truth in her eyes. Outside, reporters swarmed. But in that moment, it was just them. He set the contract aside, unsigned. "You're crazy," he said, a faint smile breaking through. "Giving up everything for this place." "Not everything," Olivia said, holding his gaze. "Just the parts that don't matter." 6 months later, Willow Creek buzzed with life. The new Agricultural Innovation Center, funded by the Trust, drew students and farmers from across the Midwest. Ethan and Olivia worked side by side. Their proposal, a blueprint for sustainable farming, gaining national attention. Greenwave, under new leadership, partnered with the Trust, licensing Willow Creek's patents to other communities. Lily, home from college, led workshops, her pride in her father's legacy shining. The wedding was simple, held under Willow Creek's open skies. Ethan, in a borrowed suit, looked at Olivia, radiant in white, and felt the weight of his past lift. Guests, farmers, board members, students mingled, 2 worlds united. Clara, dabbing her eyes, handed them a new lasso, a twin to the one that had saved Olivia. "For your future," she said, as they danced under the stars. Ethan whispered, "When I threw you that rope, I thought I was just saving a stranger." Olivia smiled, her hand in his. "And when I came here to buy your farm, I didn't know I was finding my home." The lasso hung in their office, a symbol of rescue and renewal. Willow Creek wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Proof that the greatest investments grew from trust, love, but and a rope thrown in a moment of need. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to an epic tale of heart, grit up and redemption straight from the fields of Willow Creek. I'm thrilled you're joining me for this story that's got it all. Danger, drama, and a love that grows stronger than the toughest drought. If you're loving the journey of Ethan and Olivia, don't miss out on more stories like this. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Trust me, tomorrow's got something extra special in store, and you won't want to miss it. Let's keep this community growing. Join us, and let's make some unforgettable memories together. Now, when a race dive back into the story.